Hey everyone, so I want to come on here and talk about something. So, first and foremost, we all know that I'm a survivor of sexual exploitation, but I'm also a survivor of domestic violence. And since I was 12 years old, I've been with men who have beaten me. So, let's fast forward to my life now. And I think about my marriage, that when I got married some years ago, and I thought because I wasn't being physically abused that this wasn't abuse. Even though I taught it, I trained on it, it didn't apply for me, right? Like, it was always better if I was being mentally abused, it wasn't as bad as being physically abused, and that's how my marriage was. There was a lot of mental and emotional abuse. But I started dating this guy a few months ago who, he kind of swooped me off my feet, I guess you could say. He was buying me everything. He was taking me out shopping. I had some people coming to me and saying, is he grooming you? And I'm like, no, he's not grooming me. He's just got this big heart. He does a lot of volunteer work, and he does have a big heart. Like, he does help a lot of people. But he was buying me things and taking me to all these places, and his messages were so beautiful, and like how proud he is of me and how honored he would be to be my man. um, just these beautiful, encouraging messages that I would get from him. And every time he went out, he was buying me stuff. And not that I was like all about that. I would tell him, you don't have to buy me this. And he'd be like, no, you deserve it. You're such a beautiful woman. You need a man to just treat you so kindly after everything you've been through. And I kept my guard up. I did. And eventually he started to tell me, I love you. I love you, Kat. I love the woman you are. I love everything that you do and everything that you stand for. And I didn't say it back at that time because I wasn't sure. And I was kind of, everything was happening so fast. So fast forward a little bit. I did. I told him that I loved him. And I felt like I did. I loved the man that he was portraying. He had met my friends, he had met some family, and he was amazing. Like, when he met my family, he brought my daughter and my mother flowers. He was just, it was just unbelievable. And as soon as I said those I love you words, he completely changed. He never sent me one of those messages again. If anything, he started to become controlling. If I didn't answer his phone call when he called me, he would get really upset with me. So it was almost like I felt like I had to have my phone beside me at every given moment, because if he called and I missed his call, he was going to be upset with me. And then it got to things like, you never have time for me, you're busy. And I'd be explaining like my work is busy and this is what I'm doing, and this is what pays my bills and helps me eat and whatever else. And he would just be like, that's fine, I understand that I'm second or last to everything. He would call me when he knew I was in a meeting, and because I had my phone on silent and couldn't answer, he would send me these nasty messages. And I put up with this because at the same time that he was doing this, he started getting me to question myself. He was telling me that I was a selfish person, and, I should make time for him. And I did make time for him. I went to his place numerous times. I drove up there. I would make time for him, but he wanted everything. And I put up with it, and I put up with it. And then, there would be these stupid arguments over, like, I don't know, like, just stupid arguments over nothing. And I started to feel like I was walking on eggshells. And I was trying to understand what happened, from going to this stand-up guy who seemed so amazing and so loving and so encouraging, and just spoiled me rotten to absolutely nothing. And, before he'd say, when we talk on the phone, he'd be like, oh, hey, babe, hey, sweetheart. And then it became things like, how you doing, fucker? How you doing, idiot? And again, I'm like, oh, he's just joking. It's no big deal. Wow. I was groomed. I feel like I was groomed for his own benefit, in hopes that he could seclude me, or isolate me, from my friends and my family, from my work, from all of those things. And he really had me questioning myself. Like, there was one day I was having a mental breakdown, and probably because of what was going on with him. And I literally sat in my bathroom for 24 hours and just wanted to die. And I called him, and I was just crying, like sobbing, these deep cries. And he said to me, when you stop playing victim, call me back, and hung up. Again, I wrote it off, like maybe I am like just playing victim. Maybe, I'm too much. Maybe my mental health is too much. Like, I started questioning everything that I have been trying to fix, to the point of where, you know what? No. I had to come to terms and realize that as much as I want somebody to love me for me, as much as I want a man to, respect and because let's be honest, I feel like my whole journey is about looking for love. It's always been like, I know there's people out there that love me, but I've always wanted to experience what it would be like to be with a man who really loved me. And, I put up with all of this because I feel like I'm poison, and I feel like I'm so broken, and poor whoever has to put up with me. And this is the mindset that he was putting me into. And I started to realize, like, no, that's abusive. He's abusive. He's mentally abusive. Just because he's not physically hitting me doesn't mean that he's not emotionally and mentally hurting me. So I cut it off. And, I'm happy in the sense of, before, I would have stayed in this kind of relationship for years. I stayed in my marriage 2 years longer than I wanted to, for fear of shame and judgment and questioning myself and just wanting to be loved so bad. And I held on for a couple extra years because I was so worried about what everybody else would think. Or, here's Kat, she's had this fairy tale story, kind of like she came from all this crap and now she got married and woo. And I stayed. And I didn't stay this time. I did put up with more than I should have, absolutely. But I feel like it's progress, because I'm not sitting here brokenhearted. I'm absolutely not brokenhearted. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I am kind of sideswiped that all this happened, and it happened so fast. And it does. It makes it hard for the next guy, right? Because I don't have much faith left in men. I don't have much faith in thinking that they're not all the same, or, they just, yeah. And I realize people are broken, and I realize people have damage, and hey, I do too. And, if you're willing to work on your shit, that means a lot. That's huge. And I'm not expecting to find somebody who doesn't have baggage, but I'm expecting to find somebody who's working on themselves and is going to work with me in union to move forward with each other. And unfortunately, I keep attracting these men who, you know what? I tell my story to them because I feel like they have a right to know, obviously, and because I'm public and I do this, what I do for a living. And I tell them a story of what happened to me, and I share some details with them, and they're all like, wow, you're amazing and you're strong and good for you for what you're doing. But then I think somewhere in the back of their heads, they either just look at me as a hoe, or they think that, they're gonna get something from me, like I'm this sexual goddess or something. Because I was 15 years in the so-called industry, or they look at my vulnerability and they manipulate it. And unfortunately, that's what happened this time. I've gone back and read all of our messages from this guy, like back and forth, and I am just floored. I am floored at how somebody could knowingly play this game, because I'm not the first woman he's played this game with, and I know I have proof of that. I'm not going to get into that, but it's called love bombing. And I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated with opening up and trusting people to only be disappointed again. So I just want to encourage you, if you're somewhere in a relationship and you're starting to question yourself or your own mental health, or somebody can project stuff on you and make you think that you're wrong for everything, you need to really look at that. And you need to really analyze things, because emotional abuse is very real. And, I know I'm this person who's supposed to be healed or whatever, and I'm not. I'm not healed. I'm healing. And these are learning points for me. And, maybe one day I'll get it right. I don't know. But I don't want anybody to sit there in silence and feel like because they're not being abused physically that it's okay. If emotional and mental abuse is happening, it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. It fucks with your brain and your heart, and it's not a good place to be inside yourself, especially when you're starting to question yourself again, when you've worked so hard to get somewhere. So just, what? If you're unsure about something, talk to somebody. If something in your relationship with somebody seems like, I'm not sure, or there's red flags, talk to somebody. It makes a world of difference. So just wanted to share that with you. Thanks.